Charles, can I get you to move to that table? If you do that, we can turn this a little bit and then I can see what we're doing.
Over there, over here.
Put that camera right on him.
On Charles?
A proud UT fan.
Yeah, where you can see the screen. I got to turn that a little bit so I can see what Chad's got up on the screen.
You got some white places in there. Okay. We can get that.
I'm ready now, Bill. Sorry about this.
We'll call the Planning Commission to order. We'll read the procedure statement for the nation battling COVID-19 and the passing of Executive Order 60 by Governor Lee. Governments are allowed to temporarily hold virtual meetings to protect public health, safety, and welfare and to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Public will not be allowed to access this meeting except by electronic means in order to limit the number of attendees to no more than 10 people as mandated. If you're interested in attending this meeting, you can use the following options. The Zoom app meeting ID 872-7530-2153, password planning, or call 1-929-205-6099. Meeting ID, the same as the Zoom app, 872-7530-2153. Again, password planning. Item 3, is that redundant? All right. Read that again. Read it. The regularly scheduled monthly meeting for October 19th, 2020 is being held by Zoom and or phone conference call. To participate, please follow the options shown above. This meeting complies with Governor Lee's Executive Order 30. Item 4, roll call by Secretary.
Chairman Moore.
Here.
Vice Chairman Ted Jones. Secretary Davis here. Mr. Charles Davis. Here. Mr. Bobby Dawes. Here. Mr. Jim Lewis.
Here.
Mr. Joe Runyon.
Here.
I didn't hear Ted. Was Ted gonna be on the phone?
He was hoping to be, it may not be the case, but he was trying to be.
We need to get the people to identify themselves on the phone.
Yeah, well, that's item 5, roll call of any phone participants. We have none then. Just
Jimmy Harrison.
and Joe's on there, and that's it. Just 2.
Bill, we have Jimmy Harrison, Greg Middleton, surveyor, Joe Runyon, and Adam McRory, and myself, Chad Reese Development District.
Okay,
Chief's
approval of the
The chief's
sorry.
trying to get logged in. He's having a little bit of difficulty, but he's trying to get logged in on the phone.
Okay. Let us know when he gets there, and we'll.
Okay.
Item 6, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting from September 21st.
Is there a reason on the second page that the motion seconded by our blank? Dan?
Yeah, the recording did not play out. And so we need to see if we can.
Is it on the minutes? Is it on these sheets that I?
No, it's not. It's not on those sheets. And we didn't have a recording to check it. So Chad, do you have a recording from last month's meeting?
Yes, I can email you the audio, but this is also on YouTube if you go to our page. The recording.
Okay, so we can deal with that and
That's the only question I've got on the minutes.
What's the plat there that was approved? What's the name of that plat?
last month.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's on that same item by the motion seconded by both those.
Is this the one on the Planning Commission agenda last month
Yeah,
you're asking about? Let's see.
yeah, it just says move to, Commissioner Dawes moved to approve the plat.
Okay, so that would have been 944 Hiwassee Highway.
well, that would have been the one with Stinnett property.
Yeah.
And that was a,
Okay, the flag.
I think we're having a little confusion here. I'm gonna
You don't
ask
know
a
if it's
question.
Senate?
Well, are we on the, we had originally used to done the planning commission first and then the
No, I'm on
BZA
the planning
second.
commission.
We
You want me to
switched
go to the-
to the BZA.
Yeah.
There's an advantage to that in that
Yeah.
we may have,
Okay, you
So-
want me to start over here?
well, I think the first 3 items are identical.
Yeah.
So I think we can pick up with number 4 and be okay.
Okay, we'll do the roll call again, or you same name?
Chairman Jones. Still here, Taylor. Vice Chairman Moore,
Here.
Secretary Davis here,
Can I help you?
Board Member Charles Davis. Here. Board Member Joe Runyon.
It's right there.
I see.
Okay. Okay, roll call of any phone participant.
Well, right now, after 5 o'clock, you're actually speaking with one of our, I'm actually on call. So I don't have an exit. Yes, ma'am.
So-
If you call in the morning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, 8
I don't know
o'clock.
how to do it without messing it up.
Thank you.
Or if we don't have a remote for the TV, or I turn the sound down, but so now, one more thing, Chairman Moore, I'm gonna see who's in the foyer for what meeting, okay?
Art Cleve's out there, but he's with planning commission, I think.
Okay, he's planning commission, and who do we have over here? We have 2 people or 1? That's the architect, right? Oh, you're the architect, you're with him? Very good, thank you. So you're for the next meeting? Very good, okay, I'm sorry.
So we'll-
Carry on.
Okay, Item 6, approval of minutes of the previous meeting, September 21st. Motion to approve them. Have any, we got a second?
I'll second.
And a second. Okay, any further discussion or revisions or comments on the minutes? Do you have one, Charles?
No.
Okay, all those in favor, aye. Opposed? Okay. Recognition of citizens. Communication from chairman, none. Reports from the staff and committees.
Nothing at this time.
Item 10, old business consideration of discussion on code violations.
So you had requested a number of meetings ago about how are we handling code violations since Ronnie's passed, and what are we doing, and what's happened to the way we used to do. And so I spoke with Justin this is Justin Jackson, by the way. You finally get to meet Justin Jackson, and by the way, he's a new dad. That's why he couldn't be with us last month. So congratulations. But in the time between Ronnie's passing and my starting, Tommy had passed the codes enforcement part of the job that Ronnie was filling to Justin in the police department. Something that a lot of jurisdictions are doing, and it has its advantages. And so Justin is here tonight, and what we thought we might do is let you guys share your concerns, see where we were, because neither one of us is familiar with the past process. I've got, a little bit of information as to what is, if we need it, a good way to go. But I think working out how we did things and how we want to proceed with things is a good way to handle that discussion.
Okay. Well, what I remember from it is it was fairly informal. There was a complaint, and I would say there weren't more than 1 or 2 a year. That were brought to Ronnie's attention, or if we saw something, we bring it to his attention. And initially try to just write a letter or contact the person and tell them that there was a concern with their yard or whatever it might be that was in violation of the code. And if that wasn't corrected, then we'd have a meeting, and usually had the president, vice president, or chairman, vice chairman, and secretary, just 3 people who would be on the codes violation committee. We discuss it and say how we want to do it further. And some of them took quite a while, some of them correct the problem right away. But,
We haven't had a meeting in a very long time.
it's been quite a while, yeah. We had,
Did the meetings correspond with these type meetings as well?
we usually had it after these meetings. It'd be, before we had planning commission first, then the BZA, and then if there was a need, we'd have it after the BZA meeting, but we haven't had one. I'd say it's been,
The last one I remember is the Oak Street burned house.
yeah.
Was there one since that one?
That's as good as any is the last one. I remember over in Mountain View, we had one that went on.
Yes, Mountain
And
View.
we have that white colonial house over there. I think it's on Fourth.
Yeah.
That's been a constant thing. It's comes up. I don't know if it changes owners or what, but that was come up. I think the last ones were that I think you took care of. The
Commercial
old
property.
Sonic and Long John Silver, and we've had to deal with that a couple times, but otherwise,
I think you had some more cars in the yard too.
Let me throw out a little bit of code if I can. We adopt as a community, we adopt the International Property Maintenance Code, and that is by the International Code family, and it kind of gives a basis to go by and whatnot. Since we adopt that, it has in it a process whereby there's a means of appeal for anybody who feels like Justin has just been overbearing or has not treated them according to the way he would treat anybody else or something like that. It doesn't, and so that is to be a board also. The code book has the same thing, and we made this board, that board for keeping me in check as far as if I get outside the parameters of what the code calls for. And so I would suggest that we do the same thing with this board. However, it sounds like the way we were doing it before, now that's a minimum requirement, okay? It sounds like the way we were doing it before was kind of on a preemptive basis, where the codes enforcement officer wasn't kind of out there by himself and really had a good basis to go out there. So if I'm reading that right, what I understand you guys to say, and I think that's probably good backing for Justin to kind of have that preemptive, clarification from a board if you want to do it that way.
Yeah, and if I'm still remembering right, the Mountain View, the property owner came before the board at that one time, didn't they?
usually it got taken care of, but he was in here several times, and we gave him.
We gave him extra time.
Yeah.
As far as I know, it eventually got taken care of.
Yeah. And like Bobby said, we've had car problems sitting in the yards. I think there's probably some sitting up there on Fourth Avenue, that house. And we got rid of, when they one on Oak Street that burned, it took forever to get that taken care of. And then we took care of one house that got it condemned and removed on Railroad, or Richland Street. It was some,
A lot of these properties are frequent flyers. They just keep coming back up, like the one on Fourth Avenue. I've already visited it several times.
okay.
Just specifically addressing a direct complaint. And what's typically been going on is they've been calling City Hall, and then City Hall's just been relaying the message either through Dan or through the front desk to the police department, and then I just go out and handle it. Most times, just knocking on the door and talking to them. It may take them a week or 10 days to get fixed, but for the most part, it's gotten the majority of the problems fixed that way so far.
Okay, that's fine.
I think that's the simplest way to do it. I think that's the right way to do it. If that don't work,
If it gets more complex, we have to take
Yeah,
the next
yeah.
step, or if they just ignore our requests.
I think it would be good if we had something in the minutes that said that this is the Board of Appeals for that process also. I think we already have it based on, we did it for the building code, and that's probably part of the code family. We already adopted. So I guess maybe we don't even need it. We just say it is, and everybody knows that this is the Board of Appeals for property maintenance code as well. Sounds like we'd be covered.
And if you or Dan, Justin or Dan not getting the results that you need after a couple of times, to send them a letter or seeing them in person or whatever, and schedule them to come in here and
What do we want to call this board?
Board of Appeals, Property Maintenance Board of Appeals.
Property maintenance.
No, well, we had a name for it. I think what it was now. Good code violation.
It doesn't, whatever it is, we know what it is, and we're gonna do these duties, so.
And then we haven't, I don't know that we've ever gotten far enough to anybody or.
I think somewhere at one time it was defined that it wasn't the entire zoning appeals board.
Yeah.
But it was a certain member, it was a certain
Yeah.
group of members from that zoning appeals board, like you said, I think it was 3 different people.
Not less than 3 members.
Yeah.
That can be as many as you want, but not less than 3.
I think it was 3.
So, yeah, but as far as, I don't know, we've never had one where they wouldn't do it or refuse to do it, and we're gonna get an attorney and there's nothing like that, so I don't know where we'd go after that, if there's any fines that are imposed for violations or continued violations, or.
The property maintenance code that Alan was referring to earlier, it does give a process of, gives a step-by-step process of how that should work. And a fine or a, you know, a court penalty, so to speak, is in part of that process, but that would just be, we would have to fall in line with whatever we've adopted the code process for that.
Does that go to the city judge?
That would go from the city, yes, that's correct.
Do you have any pending right now that you're working on? Or?
No, there are several properties that we need to address. A few months back, I gave Susan a copy of the paper that we were using previous to when Ronnie had it.
Okay.
Had the wrong TCA code on it. The TCA may have changed or whatever, but the format in the letter that we were using had the wrong TCA code. So
Okay.
I took the property maintenance code that we adopted. I took their basic, the way they told us to format the letter. We took it and we changed it and corrected the TCA codes. And then it was given to Susan Arnold to overlook. So whenever it comes back to us. we will,
261, please. Michelle, call 261.
Whenever it comes back to me, we'll make the changes and go from there.
So
Did
it's,
y'all Zoom meeting started?
Yeah.
Okay, I had someone call that tried to call in.
Okay.
And the passcode that I was given as planning, he said he could only use numerical
Are they trying to phone in or?
phone in.
Yeah, Tammy, there's a separate one to phone in.
Yeah,
And here's the number. You've got something to write it down. It's 954-59271. 954-49271.
49.
you wrote it down. Okay,
What is it?
I'll call and give it to him.
What is it? 49.
Yeah, it's 954-59271.
Okay,
Two.
and that's the password to get past the phone call?
Yes.
It looks like,
Okay,
Tammy, we're only doing the BZA right now.
okay,
we
so
haven't
planning's
gotten to-
not started yet?
No.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Justin, what's the process to get this to you? Do they come to Dan or anyway,
Yeah, I'm sorry to get what to you.
to get the information to you on like a code violation, property violation? Does it come through Dan? Does it come through Tom, or does it, somebody just call you?
It doesn't matter if you want it to go through City Hall, if you just send it through the front office, or if you just want to send me an email. I know some of the emails where you had sent out to in reference to the commercial properties on 27 around the old Sonic actually went to Dan first, I think, and then came to me. So I'll get with you and get you my city email. You can either email me or send it through City Hall, either way.
Okay, I need to get your email.
Yes, sir.
I'll get it from Dan. I got this in the minutes, man.
Pardon?
I got this in the minutes.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else on that code violation, Dan? We need to.
I'm good on the codes violation if you are. Yeah. You good, Justin? I'm good.
Something comes up, we can revise them. And whatever. Right now, we've got nothing pending. Item 11, new business. A, consideration of request for variance, James Corbin, 1075 Market Street.
Let's see. James, are you on the phone?
I don't
Chad,
think
do we have James on the phone?
No, we don't have a James on the phone.
Jim Corvin?
No, the only other one that's joined us since we started was Jason Farmer.
Okay. So we don't have a completed ready plat. And so let's just let that go since I haven't heard from him, or I heard earlier in the week and he had a plat to Chad, but I'm gonna say we're not.
So this, Chad's got all the comments on there. I don't know if you can,
Well, we can try it.
I don't know.
We don't have a representative, but we can
Okay.
we can go ahead.
Wait till he gets here. If he,
Chad, what do you think?
I think we should probably discuss it with him first. He would need to be on the call with us to go over this.
Okay.
That wouldn't be him calling in, would it? Who was calling in?
I talked to him yesterday and asked him if he knew he was on the agenda. He said, no, he didn't know.
Okay.
We've got one new phone participant now, last number ending in 0734. Who is that? Who do we have?
That's,
Okay, that's fire chief.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's just
Yeah, I said he needs to know about it.
table that.
really, is this holding him up, or do you know? I thought we'd taken care of it before, but
This is different. This is a new. This is to.
This is the garage on the property line between the garage and the house.
That's right. So that's correct. Well, the reason I put it on the agenda was because I got this from Chad and I couldn't get a hold of James to see if we were going to get a fixed one or anything. James Nevins, not, and I didn't talk to Jim Court. So I put it in there just in case, so we wouldn't hold him up. No, sir.
I think he thought James Nevins was taken care of.
Well, and that's what I assumed, but I tried to get a hold of James, couldn't get a hold of James, and I did not have, I don't have a corrected plat. I don't have anything. I don't even have an application to be on there. So I'm gonna say we're best off table it without a representative.
But there are several variances on here that Chad wrote on here, though.
Yeah, it would require several
There's-
variances for the plat to be approved. But like Dan said, if he's not available, it's probably not ready to move forward yet. They submitted it to be approved this month, but I sent it back to James Nevins and told him it's going to require variances first before you could consider it for a final plat approval. So I'm
I
with
probably
Dan. I say
jumped
we
the gun.
just table it.
Yeah, I probably jumped the gun on that, trying not to hold him up. So that was my mistake,
Okay.
So,
That's okay. I'd have put it on there too.
well, I hate to hold somebody up if I don't have to, but. Okay,
Just making a note of those. Item 11B, consideration of request for variance, James Harrison property, College Street.
James Harrison, are you on the line?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay, gentlemen, you're familiar with this piece of property. What's changed since the last go round? Mr. Harrison has bought some more property adjacent to him. And so with that, it has reduced our need for variances down to 2 variances instead of what we had. Okay, those 2 items are, we have a 30-foot requirement between buildings if we have more than if we have more than one building in a townhouse development, we have a requirement of 30 feet between buildings. Okay, Mr. Harrison has 24.
Okay, now, this is what I'm looking at, what you're talking from.
That's
I
correct.
see the 24, 5 there on those blocks, but so all you need is a 6-foot variance.
There would be a 6-foot variance for between buildings in order to meet the townhouse regulations that we currently have. Okay, the other one is going to be the distance from the road to the homes is required to be 25 feet in an R3, which is what he did. And he did that to the front of the porch columns. What it's required to be in a townhouse development is 30 feet. So Mr. Harrison has 30 feet to the building, but not 30 feet to the porch, front of the porch columns.
So you need 5 foot on that.
So he needs 5 foot, and it's actually 5 foot on 2 of the buildings. And I think it drops to, does it drop to 3 foot on the others, Jimmy, or is it still, what does it drop to on the other?
To the porch pole is 26 feet from the road, from the right of way.
On the 2
Drop
that stick
to,
out closest to the road?
That's correct, and a foot less on the other 4.
So it's 3 foot on the other units, not now, as a point of comparison, if this was an R3 zone, and it is, but if he was building apartments, he would be good on that, on the 25 feet from the road to his porches. Also, when you start talking about projections on a building in building code and in zoning code, there's usually allowable projections into the yard setbacks called out, depending on what zoning you use and depending on whether it's covered and depending on whether it's enclosed and different things. So if this was apartments and not townhouses, he's already met it. That's item 1. And item 2 is if those buildings are attached, he wouldn't need that. He wouldn't need that center variance either. So in other words, if it was apartments, he could do a higher density than what we're making them do. He could fill up the space in between. He can attach the buildings with a canopy, and then they're attached and there's no space between the buildings. So there's ways to work around this. I think we're probably ahead as far as the city and the looks of it if we roll with the 2 variances the way we got them, as opposed to saying you can't do it because it's a townhouse. So, then his option is he turns it back to apartments and it gets more dense, on the acreage required, so many units per acre, he's a lot further under at this point because of the additional property he's bought. And so we've got some good reasons that have not, well, we've got some things that have knocked us down from however many variances we were before down to the 2. One is the front setbacks, which would be per apartment, and then the other is that distance between the buildings. So,
Big improvement.
Yeah.
Okay, with these 2 approvals, what are there going to be? Townhouses?
They have the potential to be townhouses that way. That's correct.
That we're going to be called on the approval,
Well,
as opposed to apartments or condos.
Well, yeah, he wouldn't, if it was apartments or condos, he doesn't need anything at this point. We're already there. If it's called townhouses, because we have in our zoning regulation these additional requirements for townhouses, regardless of the number that we have, then yes, he needs these variances. So yeah,
His intent is to sell them as townhouses.
that is my understanding. Jimmy, is that your intent to sell them as townhouses?
Yes, sir.
This has been knocked around for almost a year. I think it needs to go away. I make the motion, we approve these 2 variances.
Do we need to do separate one for both?
I've got them both under one.
All in one?
I've got them both under one.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve the 2 variances required to consider them as townhouses. Is there any further discussion, comments? Okay. All those in favor, aye. Opposed? Okay, passed. So we're off on the townhouses.
For now. There'll be more coming.
Does he reduce it from what, 7 down to 2 and,
Something like that. Yeah, I think
okay, been more than patient.
We need a Christmas basket.
Number 12, other business.
You agree, Charlie?
Okay, anything else to BZA?
I have no other business.
No other business. Item 13, adjournment. Got a motion?
I'll second.
Second. Right.
Candy gonna go through that mask too good. Shot to go to bathroom. Your shot to go to bathroom.
Yeah.
I gotta go. Well, guess we won't do it. Here comes that. I'll go. Yeah.
So, as planning, but it's got 8 characters to it. It seemed like the phone number would only have 7. You're spelling it out on your phone. Is that what we're supposed to do?
No, it just generates a random number for phone callers.
Oh.
State don't make no mistakes. State don't make no mistakes. I know it can be no mistakes.
Boy. I'm gonna call this order right now. Are we ready to go?
I'm good.
Call the October Planning Commission meeting to order. Item 2, reading procedure statement. Where the nation battling COVID-19 and the passing of Executive Order 60 by Governor Lee, governments are allowed to temporarily hold virtual meetings to protect public health, safety, and welfare, and to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Public will not be allowed to access this meeting except by electronic means in order to limit the number of attendees to no more than 10 people as mandated. If you are interested in attending this meeting, you can use the following options. The Zoom app meeting ID 872-7530-2153, password planning, or call 1-929-205-6099, meeting ID, same as the Zoom app, 872-7530-2153, password planning. Item 3, the regularly scheduled monthly meeting for October 19th is being held by Zoom and/or phone conference call. To participate, please follow the options shown above. This meeting complies with Governor Lee's Executive Order 60. Item 4, roll call by the Secretary.
Chairman Moore,
Here.
Vice Chairman Jones. I hear Ted.
Say it once more.
Ted Jones. Secretary Davis here, Mr. Charles Davis. Here. Mr. Bobby Dawes. Here. Commissioner Tim Lewis,
Here.
Commissioner Joe Duncan.
Here.
They've got a quorum.
Yep.
Approval of minutes of previous meeting from September 21st.
If Chad said he could get you those seconds, yeah.
So we took care of the, we're gonna check on the, or he has them,
We're gonna check on the
Name of the-
seconds
in the
and
name of the plat.
we just won't be able to.
And then on the, I believe on the agenda item 11, new business consideration of variance on the Stennis property, was to approve the variance for the flagpole lot. But I thought that the fire department was to go out and review it.
It's been reviewed.
And fire department's approved it there with the turn and all we were concerned about.
Chuck, you wanna weigh in?
Yeah, I'll just simply say that I drove out the very next morning as promised and drove the driveway. Adam and I both did. It's beautiful property and it's accessible by fire truck. So we have no problems with it whatsoever.
Okay. We're good there then. We probably should have had that. When we had it,
Doesn't hurt.
that was, we passed it based on what they're gonna say.
We don't have a plat at this time to, you know,
Oh, we don't.
no,
Final
No, I
plat, huh?
pardon?
We don't have a final plat.
No, we don't. Well, or even a preliminary or anything because that's been passed to the surveyor and we don't have the plat yet.
Okay.
So really, I guess, Chad, wouldn't it be appropriate us wait till we have a plat to, approve a plat, I guess?
Yes, sir. I'd agree with that.
Pardon?
Yes, I'd agree with that.
Okay.
They was doing this to make sure what they wanted to do would fly before.
Yeah.
they went.
Well, and that would have been an expensive survey to do and not have the whole concept approved. So we approved the concept last time.
Still need a motion in the minutes.
Yeah, and if they do move forward with that plat, since it's just going to be the one lot, we could staff approve that now that the variances have been approved on it.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from September 21st?
I make the motion to approve.
Motion and a second, Bobby, second. Any other corrections or revisions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Item 7, recognition of citizens. No one. Communication from chairman. none.
Well, we should have a couple citizens for that.
Well,
They're on the agenda.
they're on the agenda.
Oh.
You want them to come in or, I don't know how?
However you want to handle it.
We'll just wait.
They're on the agenda for,
Yeah, well, we got in this thing, they're not allowed to access this meeting except through electronic means, so I didn't know.
Well, we can recognize them as here, right? That's what we,
you can bring, I mean, you got 6 foot, you have to, you bring them up there. We got last.
If they have anything
Yeah.
to say or what, when we get to
Yeah,
that part.
okay.
Tell me one at a time. Reports from the staff and committees. Dan, do you got anything?
I have no report at this time.
Item 10, old business. A, consideration of short-term rentals.
So the last time, had a discussion about the need for a short-term rental ordinance. We had a ordinance at one point that was, presented by, Southeast Tennessee Development District that we resurrected from 2018, I think it was. Or maybe it was 19. Anyway, it was a while ago. And, Susan presented a draft ordinance. That ordinance has now gone to the city council. The city council has had a first reading. And during and since that first reading, there's been quite a lot of comment on the ordinance. And that's where that sits at the moment. I've had a number of meetings with a few people who operate units that we're trying to find out more about it and what it's going to look like and the implications of it. And kind of in an attempt to reduce those number of meetings, I'm supposed to attend. They're going to have a meeting of short-term rental operators on Wednesday morning, which I told them I would attend in order to answer their questions.
Is this something they've put together then?
It is, and the deal is just to let them know what I know about it and what the implications of that might be. But there's a lot of kickback on the ordinance.
But it is going for a second reading at the
November
next city
the
council
2nd.
meeting, right?
November the 2nd.
Okay, and then can they pass it that night? They could. They could. So those people know that they can come into the city?
That night. Well, they may not be able to come in, but they know they can attend the meeting.
Oh, okay.
So
So the second hearing is when they can voice their concern.
that's correct.
And did either one of you, Bobby or Jim, here have anything said at the hearing that would concern you?
No, I mean, Susan done most of the talking. I mean,
Yeah.
they had several people here that, spoke against it. I mean, Mr. Bamber being one, because he was here on the agenda for, and, so, I mean, that, gentleman. Oh, there was 2 or 3 that had.
A couple colleagues.
Right. That called in. I think they was, I don't know if they was objecting to the form they had to fill out, or I think there was some problem with having to follow the guidelines. What
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're starting to stringent to the guidelines.
Right.
Now, there were 3 pages, I thought, of good meeting notes from it and all. If anybody wants to see them,
And you're concerned there, Mr. Moore, the meeting agenda will be posted on our website too, so they'll have the opportunity to speak if they choose to.
Susan answered them, and did she express any concern about what they said, or that it wasn't something didn't cover?
No, sir, not aware of.
I think one thing that came up here in one sentence, that we tend to think of this as the bass fishermen coming in and having a short-term rental thing for the tournaments. But I'm reading in the paper there elsewhere in the country, I don't want to say college students, but young millenniums maybe, they're finding out that they can rent a house and have a
big
party there with a swimming pool and everything at a
See,
pretty nominal cost.
That was one of the arguments the other night. Who do we need? That's why we're doing filling out all the information, so we know who to go to if something like that happens.
And they're finding out that where this is occurring, they don't have anybody to go to.
Right.
They show up and there's all this noise and carrying on, going and drinking and whatever, and nobody's in charge. Yeah. So
There are companies buying houses in nice single-family neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily local. And they're making money at Airbnbs, and the person stuck is the people next door or in the immediate vicinity that are stuck with the parties and so on. And a new neighbor every other weekend, or every weekend it's new neighbors. And so that's what the design and the intent is, to protect the single family neighborhood people. And it may be that ordinance has a little more than that gonna as a side effect, but I don't know how you do it.
See, they talk about homeowners associations. I don't think there's any homeowner associations in Dayton as far as. Now, I think Edgewater has restrictions out there as far as Edgewater, from that standpoint. But I don't think it's like a homeowners association.
the only ones I've seen in Edgewater, just using that as an example, was there were some deed restrictions that go back maybe 50 years when Ed Morgan plotted that thing, and he had thing, but certainly short-term rentals wasn't anything that was covered.
Well,
At
that's
that
probably what
point.
was thought of back then, but I thought it was my understanding that you couldn't have an apartment in the basement of your house out there, like rent your basement or any room.
They got that over in Edgewater now.
renting them out.
You can't rent an apartment out of your house.
You can't out of your house, you know, and
Well,
so I would think that would cover any situation like that in that community, you know, from that standpoint. And I think that was one of the concerns.
well, the only thing I've ever seen was what Ed had, and how good that is, I don't know. But I've been told there's no homeowners association over there.
No.
And it just gets too complicated and whatever, so.
But
Just
I,
as a personal thing here, living in Edgewater, we had one of the short-term rentals out here, and we had major problems because of the boat dock area. And actually, some of those guys were coming up trying to beat locks off the gate, and it's been a major issue out here. It's been chaos, and so that's been our personal experience. It has not been pleasant.
Yeah. Okay. So, anything else, Dan, on the Zoom room?
That's where it's at.
Hearing coming up, first Monday in, November, and they can pass it that night, depending on what it says. 10B, consideration of fast-paced healthcare.
Since our last meeting, fast-paced healthcare, we do have a bond in hand for 150% of the cost of the improvements. And that is underway at a fast pace. So bricking the building right now and putting a roof on it.
it's already been considered.
Yeah, they're moving along at a fast pace. So that's all I have on that,
Okay.
sir.
Item 10C, consideration of variance on Stinnett property, 994
That-
Hiwassee Highway.
That should have been old business from the last meeting. I apologize about that. But anyway, but we've already talked about that, so that's a done deal.
Okay, but basically, we're waiting on the final plat.
That's right.
Okay, item 10D, consideration of code change proposals.
We've moved that to the city council. I have taken a bunch of our existing municipal ordinance and crossed out 212 and put in 218 and whatever other changes. There was some for the fire department. There was some for the state exempted for residential. It exempts out a lot of energy, but anyway, all that's been taken to the city attorney's office to be presented to the city council for their first reading on November the 2nd. So
Didn't they have it at the last meeting, the October meeting?
I think they called for a hearing at the October.
Just called for the hearing?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe that.
So the first hearing is going to be November also. Okay. Any other old business?
I have done.
New business, 11A, consideration of request for annexation, City of Dayton IDB, tax map 076 parcels 3800, 3801, 3803, 301 Lower Fine Lane, basically the fine property.
That's correct. And we're not really ready to move on that this month. We don't have a plan of services written and all the paperwork written to do that. Just throwing that out there. That is something that's fixing to happen, and putting it out there for your consideration at this meeting, but we don't have paperwork for it right now.
Yeah, so that's something we'll work on between now and the next meeting, and I've talked to Dan a little bit about the process for it. There is a waiting period once the planning commission has reviewed the plan of services and given their report. There's a 30-day notice that has to go to the county mayor, and that will be required before you have the public hearing and the approval of the resolution on the plan of services and the annexation resolution. So It'll probably take us through the end of December to get all of that done, but by your next meeting, though, you will have your plan of services and your report ready to review.
Item 11B, consideration of zoning change suburban.
Chad, do you have that?
Let's see if Mark.
Oh,
Anything you want to
That's
say,
right.
or-
It's right here.
thank you, Chad.
Ready to consider the zoning change.
Okay. Thank you for your time. I'm going to bring up to speed on the current state. When we returned back to COVID-19 shutdown, we had about 240 employees. And we've experienced a significant increase in business in days. And our customer demand is continuing to grow. Our current manning is 531 people. And with this addition of additional business in the plant, we're running short on parking. And so we need more parking. So our proposal is that we own the property just west of us, just between Suburban and the substation. And we'd like to put some gravel and put about 45 parking spaces there, just to carry the overflow. And then we have an entry and exit and pedestrian crossing from across the open street. So our ask is to change the zoning from residential to commercial, allow for the additional parking. There's not going to be any structures built or anything at this request. Then improve the drainage ditch along the open street and then install 2 drain tiles to access the parking area and one for a pedestrian crossing.
Industrial, and they are attached to their property. It connects to property that's already industrial property.
How many parking spaces would?
Approximately 45.
45.
So this is just, we're probably going up approximately 60 feet across Yoakum.
And to what Mr. Cleve is saying, it's actually not a vast change. They're just wanting to gravel in a section there or two for 45 parking spaces, but they are connected already to an industrial zone, so.
But would the annexation take in that your entire property there?
Yes.
As it's outlined? Okay, but you're only going to use, you think about 60 feet into that.
60 feet deep, approximately 250 feet across. There'll still be a gap between the 2 houses on Yoakum Street. So we're not going to go up to the property line, we'll be inside the property line just to be the neighbor.
Now on here it says I-2.
So,
Are we going to make it that or?
well, yeah, we would have to. We can only make a change to what is adjacent to already. So they are I-2. So we would want to make this change I-2 as to commercial. So it will be an I-2.
Commercial.
It will be from R3 to an I-2 is what really I think you're asking for.
Whatever we are.
That right. And when I was approached about this, I really can't, there is no permit for the parking lot, but I really can't say, bless you, put a parking lot in a R3 zone. We don't have a way to do that. So that drives the need for the change.
Is it R3? This says R1.
R3 is what the current map shows.
It's R3.
Okay.
Currently, yeah. So
So it's going from R3 to I2.
That's what it should say. Yes, sir.
And this has to go to city council and do all that other stuff too, right?
And we have to post it. That's correct.
by changing it.
We're making a recommendation, I think is what we're doing.
By changing it to I-2 though, can it eventually have construction on it?
Yes.
A factory be built?
It would surely allow them to do that, yeah.
That's not our intent. We still got plenty of capacity.
The way you're growing.
Man. Do what? What do we need to do? I'm sorry, sir, I can't hear you. What do we need to do? Approve it or now or send it to the council? Well, I think we need to say,
Council for zoning.
I think we need to send it to the council, but we approve the concept to send the council to go.
That's all.
Recommend to the council to approve.
Recommend the council approve it.
that your motion?
That's your motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got a second?
Second.
Got a second over here. Okay. Further discussion on the zoning change for suburban? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approved. Thank you, Art.
Thanks for your time.
Let's see, consideration of zoning change, city of Dayton.
Okay, so the same map. That's a substation right there, and that belongs to the city of Dayton. And when they change this to an I-2, we will be in a position to change that something other than a R3, which does not allow for a substation. So it's just housekeeping.
So
If we,
gonna wait till this other's approved first.
Chad, do we have to wait, or can we just make that contingent on that's in the process of changing to an I-2, so this one changes with it?
Well, what would probably happen is I would most likely draw it up as one ordinance and let them do it all at one time. I mean, it's okay to change that to I-2 since you are the other, but it's not really necessary with it being the substation there.
But does it matter, Chad, one way or another, what it's zoned? I mean, a
No,
substation-
not for utilities, it doesn't.
Okay, then it's not an issue then, unless it is an issue.
So what we can do is just put the ordinance together and let the city council vote on both. And as long as one goes through, then the substation could go through with it.
Okay,
You go with that?
I'm good with that.
We, in our zoning ordinance, we have, utility spaces and things of that nature called out in other than R3. So that's the reason I'm
And that may eliminate any future questions if that whole section is just,
purple.
yeah.
So no action.
No, I think what we're saying, and you want to roll with it, Tommy, is that what we want to do?
Yeah.
Roll right through,
Okay,
both of them.
Same thing?
Yep.
Okay. We got a motion to change that zoning to, what do you say?
I-2. That's right.
Joe Runyon makes the motion.
Get a second?
Say.
A second here for it. Further discussion on the zoning change. Request from the city of Dayton to I-2. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, it's approved.
This is the same item as before, except this would be the discussion of the plat after the variance was requested, but we tabled the variance, so let's table the plat on
That's
it.
item D then.
That's item,
Got two.
well, I got two Bs, but yeah, it would be
Two
D.
Cs, okay. So we
That's
just
right.
table it.
Let's call it D. I'm gonna label mine D and table it, correct?
Okay. Then. Item E, consideration of subdivision plat, Riddle Road.
Chad's got it up on the screen there. We're looking for a preliminary approval. Chad, are we still on a preliminary approval? I
Yeah,
think we are.
preliminary, this was, let's see, here was the preliminary plat that was submitted, and we have Greg Middleton on the phone, who's the surveyor on this property. So we'll start with the preliminary, and that's what I've got up there. He submitted another draft this afternoon, and so it addresses everything that's on here. So we'll just start with what was required. He was needing to show the proposed utility line. Understand that there's a new water line going to be upgraded. It's currently 3 inches. They're upgrading to a 6-inch line. Also, in doing that, they will have to add additional fire hydrants. Now, I had not seen the plans that were submitted to the city, so I only mentioned 2, but the plans that have already been submitted have 3 fire hydrants. So that's something that would need to be changed on this plat. Also, there were a few minor additions that needed to be made, such as listing the property as R1 low density residential, showing the building setback lines on the property, and making some corrections to the rear setback. So this is the revised plat that I received today from Mr. Middleton, and it does address all of those requested changes. So the only thing I would note on this plat is everything is in compliance with your subdivision regulations and zoning ordinance, though With this plan, which is this one right here that was submitted to the city and has been approved, there's an additional fire hydrant. So there's one located right about here. There's another one that is located, gotta zoom in to see it, right about in this area. And then one other one right here. So that would need to be changed on the preliminary. But other than that, all of the other requirements as far as lot size, lot widths, and dimensions, it meets all of those requirements. So I would recommend approval of the preliminary plat pending the addition of the additional fire hydrant.
Chad, on the one copy we have, we received 2 copies of the plat. It says final plat on it.
That's correct. He submitted both. Originally, he submitted just the final. Because of the subdivision and the utility changes, it required the preliminary. So I had asked him to submit that too. So in your agenda package, you'll have both a preliminary and final. And I reviewed both of those. Now, the preliminary we're ready to move forward with tonight. The final, I don't think we are, and I'll discuss that once we get to it next.
So all you need is approval for the preliminary.
Yes, sir, with the change of adding the 3rd fire hydrant.
Did anybody else go out there and look at that property? It's a nice piece of property.
Yes, it is. I never would have thought they'd have done that.
No one neither. Who's doing this?
I don't know.
Uh,
That really shocked me.
River. I got a meeting with them. Riverstone Development, I think. Yeah, but I'm thinking he's either sold or selling or partnered or something. But anyway, Riverstone Development's involved in that. We have met on site with the engineer for the water line a couple times, and they have submitted and Brady's approved their water line drawings, and it shows 3 hydrants, and so that every property's within proper distance of a hydrant. Been easy to work with, very accommodating, and so anyway, as far as I'm concerned, we're ready to rock and roll.
What I ran into, I went out there, it was a Riddle Street and a Riddle Road.
Yeah.
I drove around on Riddle Street because I came that first. I couldn't find this thing. I'm thinking, what's that going on with it? And there was a kind of a road going up the mountain there a little bit. I thought maybe it's back in there, but I had to go back to online map.
Tom.
I'd say they weren't liking it, I'd say.
Well, you got, only one I know is, Marl's mother lives up there.
There's only about one house on the south side. Is that hers?
That's the Marl.
And the rest of them are pretty well.
It's right in the curve. If you
Yeah.
go around, you go
Yeah.
right straight in.
And then there's quite a few trees for a buffer between the houses to the north of it.
Charlotte Emerson didn't have a house up here.
Okay, so you was back up on the
Out in the field, there were some stakes that had some ribbons on it. I didn't know if that's all the further it went back, if that was a surveyor's thing, but didn't get near those houses on the north side.
These are actually oversized lots that'll have, there's not even sewer going out there, so,
I know that was put up to the Tommy Holland there. He got a big rock there.
so it's not a crowded.
Tommy Holland. LLE.
Hey, Dan,
He had
Yeah,
several.
just want to let you know, we got a message too. It says Jason Farmer, he is with Riverstone Construction, and he's also on the call if anyone has any questions about this project.
hello, Jason.
Hello. Thank you guys for taking a look at this. I'm available if you have any questions.
Nice piece of property.
Nice piece of property. Yep. So we're just waiting then for the final plat, correct?
Well, we need to approve a
Preliminary. We gotta-
preliminary plat.
Yeah, first we'll have to take action on the preliminary that allows them to move forward. They are going to need to get the soil testing and septic approval from TDEC for each of these lots. So at this point, all we're doing is looking at the proposed layout the water line and the fire hydrants. And with the corrections Mr. Middleton's made, I found that all of these to be in compliance with your local regulations.
Okay.
With that being said, I approve the preliminary plat.
Second. Second. Motion and second. Further discussion on approval of a preliminary plat. Okay. Hearing none. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay. And it was preliminary plat was approved. Okay. Any other business, Dan?
I have none, sir.
So, Mr. Chairman, Bill,
Yes.
we do have the final plat that was submitted on the agenda too. That was included in your packet. So my recommendation on this one would be to table the final plat until next month. They still need to get TDEC's approval. And until the water line's upgraded and the fire hydrants installed, they can either do that before the final plat is brought back for approval, or they would be required to submit a bond to the city for those needed improvements at the time the final plat's presented.
Hey, Chad.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Tommy. I have all those easements from our sale in my hand right now.
Okay, good deal. Glad that worked out.
It did work out. I will get in touch with you tomorrow and get this stuff to you.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey, Chad, do you have any other business?
Well, like I said, just on this final plat, we would need a motion to table it.
Motion to table, final plat.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Final plat is, the table has been approved. And Chad,
Yes, sir.
under other business, you talked about an online training class. You were gonna give us some dates.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to post the materials on our website. And so it's not going to be a specific time and date. It'll just be, at your opportunity to take it sometime between now and the end of December. And right now we don't have that out there. I will tell you, we have been looking to hire some new staff members, and we have hired 2 new regional planners. One started on Friday and another starts on Wednesday. So right now we're in the transitioning process with those new individuals, but we hope to have that up sometime in early to mid-November.
And you'll let us know somehow, and
Yes, we'll put it either on the planning commission agenda, or we'll send it out by email to all of our membership.
we'll keep you then as our planner.
Well, we may be making some changes, but that's still yet to be determined, because we've got to spread out some communities. We've been working with 3 planners now, and now I finally have 5 to work with.
He stumbled a little bit, man.
Well, if they don't do a meeting as well, we're not
We
interested.
always get the new one. We're perfectly happy. No comment, huh?
Well, like I said, there may be some changes coming. I'm carrying 9 communities right now, plus doing grant writing, grant administration, the RPO, I'm doing TASER, I'm managing a staff. I gotta let a few go.
Our community's so much better though.
Yeah, we've been doing so well.
The only community you gotta worry about is Dayton.
Okay.
Is that right? Yeah, I understand.
No other business? Motion to adjourn?
Joe Runyon makes a motion to adjourn.
Okay. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.